in 2003, I learned that an old friend of mine from school had died. A friend of his girlfriend told me about it. He just died in his sleep at 23 years old. I asked if substances were involved, and she said no. She was really sad because they had just gotten engaged. I told myself I would send condolences, but I never did. I remember talking to a mutual friend a few years later, and I got the sense that it was still a really sensitive subject. A couple of years ago, I got a friend request from this guy. I didn't think it was real, so I ignored it. Today, I learned that he's alive. He married the girl he was engaged to, the same one he had supposedly died next to. The mutual friend I had spoken to about it now thinks that I'm crazy. This happened a few months ago, in early January. My wife and I were in the kitchen, prepping lunch and chatting. Our 5-year-old daughter was in the living room, watching TV. There was no one else in the house. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and the layout of the house allows us to see a bit of the corridor and hallway outside the kitchen door. My wife was cutting up food, and I was sitting behind her. As we talked, she started to turn around to face me, but stopped midway, staring at the kitchen door. She froze up completely, and I remember asking, "What is it?" She let out a loud gasp, and then I instinctively looked toward the door as well. I saw a brief glimpse of what seemed like a person turning the corner toward the living room. It happened very fast, but I was sure I'd saw someone. I panicked. My immediate thought was, holy fuck, someone broke in. My daughter's alone in the living room. The only thing I thought of doing was grabbing a knife and yelled at my wife to call the police. I rushed into the corridor and into the living room. In the living room, there was nothing. My kid was just sitting on the couch, watching Bluey. She looked at me and asked, "What's up?" with a confused expression. Mind you, I had a knife in my hand and probably looked crazy. I tried to play it off and asked if she saw anyone come in the room. She hadn't, and was clueless about what I was talking about. I searched the living room and the rest of the house. No sign of a break-in, windows closed, and we live on the 3rd floor. If someone had tried to escape that way, they would have fallen really bad. I checked everywhere. Wardrobes, behind curtains, the front door. Nothing. No signs of entry, and the front door was totally closed. And we didn't hear anyone come in or anything of the sort. And this all happened within maybe 10 minutes. I went back to the kitchen, where my wife was crying. She had frozen up and didn't call the cops. I calmed her down. She got scared bad, and she couldn't even speak properly. When she had calmed down, she explained to me what she saw. I personally only caught a very quick glimpse of the thing turning around the corner. However, my wife said she got a good look at it. She said she saw what looked like a tall woman, dressed in a floral dress and high heels, walking across the corridor. Neither of us heard any sound though. She said the woman stopped when she understood she had been seen, looked at my wife in the eyes, and my wife swears the figure looked like our daughter, just older. This happened in the space of seconds, when she first froze up in shock. When my wife gasped, the woman hurried and turned the corner into the living room. I only saw this part. If I hadn't caught a glimpse of it, I would ask my wife to go to therapy or something. But I know something was there. We never figured out what we saw, but it was definitely the strangest moment of my life. I got up and got ready for work, hopped in the car, ready to start my hour-and-a-half commute. I'm driving my normal route, and about 35 minutes into my drive, I missed my exit due to a weird traffic instance where I just couldn't get over in time. I continue on and just let my GPS recalculate. I like using my GPS regardless of knowing the route because it gives good insights into traffic patterns and ETA and things like that. It recalculates to the next exit, and I even save a couple of minutes. I was like, oh nice, maybe I just found a secret shortcut to work. So I blindly followed the GPS, as I am unfamiliar with a lot of the route at this point, and I drive for another 20 to 25 minutes or so. And this is where it gets weird. I come up on a road that seems familiar to me for some reason, but I discount the feeling because of the off chance maybe I had been there before. I then turn onto the road, and I realize I'm on a road that connects to the road my house is on. I'd never gone this way because I never had any reason to. I think, wow, this is weird. How did I get turned around like that? So at this point, I know I'm gonna be late, so I call my boss and let him know I made a mistake. I decide I might as well stop at my house to let the dogs out and to use the bathroom. But this is the weirdest part. As I approach my house, I look in the driveway and my heart sinks. My car is in the driveway. The same custom license plate and everything. That's when I look down at the steering wheel and I realize I'm driving my wife's car. I pull in the driveway and walk in the house. My wife was confused to see me because she knew I left for work not long ago. I was surprised to see that she was awake because she works night shifts at a hospital. I asked her if by chance she saw me take her keys out of her purse to drive her car that day. She reaches into her purse and pulls her keys out. I reach my hand to my pocket and pull out my keys. How was I driving her car with my keys? I again discount it as a weird mix-up and hop back in my car to go to work this time. I text my boss and let him know the situation. I get on the road, and this time, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss my exit. As I'm approaching the same exit I missed last time, I see emergency vehicles lining the road, and the exit is closed. There was a car crash on the exit involving a semi. The car that was in the accident was the same make and model as mine. I found this to be very spooky. Again, I'm forced to drive a different route to work, and at this point I'm very flustered. I call my boss again just to update him, and he says, "No worries, you should still be able to make it in time." I looked at my clock, and it's as if I was on time. How? I called my wife just to confirm I was home a while ago, and she said that I wasn't, and that she couldn't find her keys anywhere. I was starting to freak out. I checked my phone's previous calls and texts to my boss, and there was nothing from that day. I had never called or texted him. I honestly don't know what to do. I was running late for work this morning while my wife was tending to our 1-year-old, who's sick with a cold. She asked if I could stop at the Walgreens down the street to get some cough medicine. I was in a rush, but didn't want him to go without it, so I headed over there as quickly as I could. My wife and I were on the phone as I was driving and pulling into the parking lot. The street was busy and packed with cars, and as I walked up to the store, I noticed a woman putting her screaming child in her car, just outside the door. My wife was reminding me which medicine to buy as I checked my phone for the time, and that's when it got weird. The second I walked into the store, my phone turned off, and the call dropped. The sliding door closed behind me, and the entire store was empty. The lighting was different than what I was used to, fluorescent and cold. There was no one at the front, and no one in any of the aisles that I could see. I turned around to look outside, and there were no cars in the street, not even the woman who was just there 5 seconds ago. I actually said, "Hello?" Like this was some sort of horror movie. The entire store was silent, and I go to grab my phone again to film this in case no one believed me, and of course, it won't turn on. I turn the corner down a random aisle, and just like that, there's people there. The lighting is different now and warmer. There was even music now. I turn to look at the front, and there's a customer mid-transaction at the checkout. My phone starts working again, and my wife is calling me. She tells me it just went silent and said call failed. I stood there for a minute, but I realized there was nothing I could do but buy the medicine and go on with my day. I don't know if this was a glitch in the Matrix, odd and coincidental timing, or just some weird parallel universe type stuff. But all I know is that it was strange as hell, and I didn't really know who else to tell this to. While walking through International Peace Gardens in Glendale, Utah, I noticed an elderly couple sitting on a bench facing away from me. As I walked around, I saw the sweet little lady get up and walk around some bushes by the path I was on. She passed me and said, "Hi," and I said hello back. As I walked around the bushes, the little old Hispanic man was still talking. He looked up at me and kind of giggled and said he was just talking to his wife. I replied, "Well, she just left to go to your car or something." I thought it was funny. This little old man still talking to himself, not realizing she had walked away. He looks at me and in broken English tells me that she left a couple of years ago, and that she had actually died. Surprised, I said, "What? I just said hi to her." He immediately pulled out his wallet and showed me pictures of her and explained to me how that was their favorite place in the world. It blew me away and brought me to tears. I sat with the man for a few minutes while he showed me more pictures of her and then his kids and his grandkids and how proud and happy he was, even though she was gone. He told me he still goes there because he can feel that she's there. I had to agree because those pictures were of that sweet little old lady who said hi to me as she passed me.